Hello everyone, and welcome to Deckbuilding Derezzed. I am your host, Code Marvelous, and today I am joined by a repeat guest, X3r0h0ur.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me again, Dan.
Thanks for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And tonight we're going to be talking about our mutual pet project. We're going to be talking about the spirit of the century. Just Geist. The guy who inverts the game of Netrunner.
Yes, it's been probably about a cycle or a cycle and a half since we did our last one on Geist, and I would say things have changed.
I would say so. I think things have gotten a little better for our shirtless friend here.
Yes, and not just in the ab department.
No. I mean, what I think is the most interesting about Geist is just that he basically, in the mid to late game, you get paid to do what everybody else spends money to do. Like, ice becomes a non-tax for Geist in the mid to late game. So then the way that you lose becomes you accidentally getting blown up or you getting baited into using your tools before you're ready. Or
right.
on dumb runs.
Yeah, and it's like if you can keep the early game pressure up and stall to the mid game or late game, Geist can just run all over everything and get paid to do it. That's the best part.
Yeah. My one corp loss at my most recent store championship happened because I did not score out his HB fast enough against the Geist, and then I just had no ability to make an agenda safe. Because I had no ability to tax them out. So let's take a look at this deck. You have an interesting build that you've been working with and adjusting frantically. Where do you want to start?
We can just go straight down the list, start at the events, and work our way down. So we start with the one freedom through equality. This actually got added as a result of my initial testing of another card, which was indexing that was in the deck. And that's super good for punishing yellow decks. And if you have a hot hunch, you can get it against like a food coats where instead of having to score the fourth agenda, you can get just one of these and score it and you're good to go. It's a little pricey, but I find that once you've levied and everything's set up, you have plenty of cash and it's good.
Yeah, I mean, right. It's great to win on 3 agendas instead of 4 as the runner, especially as a tempo runner like Geist.
Yep.
So
super important.
Only 1 employee strike.
Yeah, tradition said 2 employee strikes. I feel like other than the IG matchup, which I don't see too much of, and with Aaron and on the Lamb, you're less likely to worry about too much of the damage. It kind of changes the matchup in your favor more. And CTM's kind of ran out a little bit by Aaron and some of the other tech cards that are in this deck. So I feel like 1's enough. We may go to 2 at some time. It just kind of depends on what you're going to see, but I think I can survive with 1.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, employee strike just does a tremendous amount of work. So we got a hostage. Seems good.
Yeah, it's mostly in the early game you're using it for the tech traders, but once you've levied through the deck, or if you happen to just luck sack into all 3 of your tech traders, hostaging for a peddler is insane. Like I don't even mind the extra click and the credit for it. And you can also pull Aaron early on in a matchup against, say, CTM or a damage deck even, like not IG49, I guess, but one that maybe like a potential unlimited or whatever, power unlimited,
or any of the 24/7 railgun decks that are going around right now.
Right. So yeah, it's the tutoring of the things you want to find, basically. Even the political operative is really good.
Yeah, we got 1 legwork. Seems good.
Yep. In this it's sort of based on the Siege Engine Geist, where you're constantly threatening the remote, and then the corp gets kind of backed up, and you try to control them till the agendas build up in HQ, and then you kind of slam them with a legwork at some point and try to close out or at least get through the 4 or 6 point range. It's good.
Only 1 levy, which is a departure from a lot of the other Geist decks that we see these days, which are running 2 levies.
Yeah, I'm flying in the face of Arc Lockdown a little bit, and I am playing this deck this weekend at a Sword Championship, and I'm really hoping that I don't get Arc Lockdown. If you're playing in a matchup against PU or HP, maybe you just hold the levy in your hand and not pitch it and rely on same old thing. But I'm going to take my chances with it.
Fair enough. So we have On the Lamb. Great card. Great theme. I love it.
Yep. I like sending a tech trader on the Lamb. That's fun. Putting Aaron Moran on the Lamb is also great. Basically, this is just hot tech against basically any kind of kill deck. You get the money back if your tech traders are set up, and dodging HHN for starting at 0 credits is fantastic.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say also, it's really great for like all the Battle of Wits garbage too, because you're like, I don't care if that's a Cerebral Overrider, let's go. Like,
Yep. 1 brain damage is tolerable.
Right. Well, it also just changes. Like, they might not even motion it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be cause a behavior change.
Yep, and it's not hard to get down. The 3 credits is not too bad. If you're up against a deck that's trying to kill you, odds are you can kind of turtle enough to get the money and then throw it down, and you're safe.
And the card that you hosted on isn't trashed, right?
No, I don't think so. If it is, then we have problems.
Yeah, but that means that you can recur this over and over again with the same old thing.
Yep, and and all that stuff.
If you needed to. Yep. So we got 2 Forgers doing what Forger things do.
Yep, makes your siphons and the siphon versions more equitable. In this one, it's really like, you can plow through a data raven if you have your link up, or basically like any kind of, like, it helps you get out of a hard-hitting news, affects the math, where if you can remove 2 yourself and you have a tech trader out, you can pay with this, get the 2 credits, and then remove the final tag. So that actually helped me against Sync a couple of times in the last couple of tournaments I played. This was originally a 3 of, but when Aaron came out, I switched it because the tag avoidance you can just do with Aaron instead, and it's just great for Link, basically, at this point.
We got 3 cars. Geist loves his cars.
Yep, a little pricey in the early game, but it pays itself off when you start throwing down the 0-cost spy cams and spikes, and anything you can do to find the tech traders faster is super important. And sometimes you leave them installed for the Link against CTM, or anybody, really.
Yeah. Sports Hoppers are really good. It's one of my favorite cards.
Yep.
Ever less spy cams in these builds.
Yeah, hashtag slots, right? That's what people say.
Yeah, hashtag slots.
Yeah, I kind of am getting less and less interested in playing with the cams because of Aaron. He makes siphons so much better. But if you have sufficient money, say you find an early Temujin, these actually can stack up, and using its ability isn't the absolute worst thing. If you can dig 3 cards and then use a spy cam to draw the card you want, there's a little bit of equity in overdrawing with these, basically.
Right.
N0 is good whenever you use the sports hopper and you draw too much and you don't want to spend any money. It's good to plop it down for free.
Sure. So we've got the man, the legend. In my opinion, people complain a lot about Cypher in this pack. I think he's a well-designed card, but I think he's way more meta warping than Cypher is. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So when I saw the pack and I started to evaluate the cards, and I was actually in the Slack chat talking about this, and I kind of asked everybody, what do you guys think is the most meta-defining card? And I honestly do believe Aaron is a much more meta-warping card because he alone turns off kill decks, he turns off tag decks.
No, yeah,
breaking 1000%. News is no longer a thing. And he's huge.
He just basically says, if you can tutor me or if you're blue, unless you're an idiot, you can't get killed anymore by yellow. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah, and at worst, it's free card draw.
Right.
You're going to get the card draw anyway.
Right. He's either incredible or he's just really good. Because a corp, the world we're in now, the corp will score an agenda. You're never going to get a shutout. So you're going to get, at a very minimum, you're going to spend 2 credits in a click for 2 free card draws, minimum.
Yep. Yeah, I feel kind of dumb now running 2 in the deck, and it may end up that way. But with the hostage, I feel like 1's at least good for testing. I think it's solid.
We got Fall Guys. We don't really need to belabor why Fall Guys are really good. It's 5 credits in a card in Geist.
Yep, and if you're on the Siphon variants, you can float tags for a turn or 2, but we're not doing that here, so
but just
easy.
How about a restructure and a card draw? Seems good.
Yep, and on paid-ability schedule too, so that's good.
Seems good. And here's kind of the linchpin of the interesting build that you're doing. Find the Truth, my favorite new card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is good. It took the indexing slot when I kind of realized that the idea of the deck is really to just kind of camp and not really engage the core plan in anything. And when you sit down across from Geist, you know what they're going to be drawing anyway. So the trade-off is basically 0. And when you're collecting Temujin money, like maybe in the mid game, you're not using your Temujin all at once. Whenever you go to peek it, you can see the top card of R&D, and then sometimes you're throwing down Freedom Through Equality, and you run and go collect it for 3 points or 4 points even.
Yeah.
The drawback is basically nothing to you, and the upside is really good.
Seems good. Yeah, I love it. I love the include here. We have Polop because it turns out Marcus Batty and Caprice are coming back.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are seeing that Rumor Mill's not turning up the way that it used to, or it did for a while. And worst case, you can trash something cheap and get your money back in a draw out of it. You can hostage for him. He's just a really good target, and it kind of is an insurance policy against like a traditional food coats kind of running you over with the Caprice side games, because it is really tough to contest a remote repeatedly.
Yep, I agree. Same old thing. Got to have that insurance policy for that levy.
Yep, for damage, for employee strike, as you said earlier on the lamb, and even in the absolute pinch where you happen to make a run, see an agenda on top of R&D on your last turn, you can fire it off for the Freedom Through Equality and win the game right there too.
Yeah,
I feel risky with one, but I'm going with it.
This is one of in my opinion, is one of the most dystopian cards in all of Netrunner, because it proves that even in the distant future, we have shitty Keurig machines.
Yeah, well, we're headed that way, so
I know, but I'm just like, even in the future, we have crappy Keurig coffee.
Yep.
We got 3 street peddlers, which, if people at home are not familiar with like a lot of the kind of standard my sets for Geist, so this is a 0 cost thing that helps you accelerate through your deck. Whatever most likely inexpensive thing that's on it is going to go down for 0, and you're going to get to draw a card when that happens, and you're going to get paid off of Tech Trader when it happens. So this is a great way to accelerate the deck, have hidden information from the corp, and just make money while also installing cards.
Yeah, the hidden information is oftentimes underrated. Like, if you're in the middle of a run and the corp looks down at a piece of ice that, it has to stop you that turn or it's not getting good value, they're at a decision point where they have to do something, and it can confuse them. Also, it's really good for helping you drain all but 1 charge off of a Temujin, so they don't have as much time to respond to that 4 credits. That's excellent.
Yeah, I agree. Tech Trader that makes Geist go. I remember when this card was spoiled, and I was just like, we are in business.
Yeah, you remember how they covered up the right part of it, and they were like, I think it wasn't completely exposed, and we're like, oh yeah, that's a Geist card. That's definitely going to be a Geist thing. Turns out it was exactly what we thought it was, and we're all very happy for it.
Yeah. Very well-designed card that just gives Geist that extra push that makes him playable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, every time. So this is what, once you're all set up, makes basically anytime you use a tool in Geist, instead of just getting a card, you're also getting 3 credits. So since most of the items in this deck are 1 or 0 cost, the disposables anyway, you're going to be basically making a 3 to 2 credit profit every time you use a tool.
Yep, and that includes Political Operative, that includes Fall Guy, Street Peddler, Forger, Spycam, all the other stuff in the deck. Obviously, the deck is built around this interaction, and you're going to see a lot of triggers, for sure.
Yep, and another thing that's worth noting about why Geist is perhaps a little bit better now is Aaron keeps him safe from having his back line obliterated by All-Seeing Eye.
Yes. Yeah, the Fall Guy helped, but All-Seeing Eye would always plow through all but like 1 or 2 things, and yeah, Aaron ducking the tags, especially like because in the early game you can't always contest a remote, so if the corp throws down a piece of ice, throws down a thing, and says, hey, come get it, if you have Aaron, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to say, oh crap, that could be a breaking news, I have to break my back to go get that.
Right. And we got 2 Temujins. I hear Temujin's a really good card.
Yeah, it's turning up in a couple of decks.
Yeah, here and there. Or, like literally every runner.
If we have to explain what that card's for, we're going to get a different audience than we think we do.
Alright, so we got 3 crowbars. That's our breaking and entering tool for code gates. It's pretty solid.
Yep. I'm not a lot to say about those at this point.
We got Faust, which is kind of an older include for Geist decks. Do you want to explain a little bit about the Faust include here?
Yeah, basically it went in with indexing because you can do the indexing run and then you would overdraw with using your breakers, and then with the overdraw sometimes running back in you have to reinstall your stuff that you drew to get in again. Instead, with this, you just convert that into a final access. So like you do the freedom through equality indexing turn, and you don't have to re-jam a bunch of stuff down. You just use the stuff you drew to throw it away and close the game out. And with this deck, sometimes you have the turn where you just trashed a bunch of stuff you didn't expect, and this lets you put those cards to use rather than discarding them. It's kind of like what we wanted to do with Autoscriptor, where you would like install something, use the extra click, and then still be able to play it. At least this way you get a subroutine broken or a strength boost. So for 3 influence, I think it's pretty well worth having an AI that can, if nothing else, slow the remote play down. They see the Faust on the table, they don't make a remote play, or you can use it for, a fill-in for, say, you can't find a crowbar or a shiv. You at least have the ability to say, hey, I can get in there.
That's fair. So Mongoose, pretty standard.
Yeah, drawback is sometimes a nightmare if people know how to play against it, but honestly, you're not really using shivs that much these days anyway, so I would say Mongoose is probably as good as it's ever been, because people don't play very many sentries.
Yep. You got some Bird Breaker. Madness,
yeah.
I say.
I'm not proud of this. I don't really like it. I don't think it's cost effective, but in the rare instances that you do have to break barriers, it's usually late game anyway. Like if you have to repeatedly break them, and usually by then you're pretty rich. I've recently switched off of Sherman, which was just because it was a cloud. Again, not happy. But if somebody reses a Kayashi or whatever and you're rich, you can slam it in their face. I guess that's the thing.
Yep. We've got shivs and spikes.
Yep. Classic B&E stuff.
Yep. And then we have Zol.
Yeah, it pays you to have one of each type of breaker be permanent, because when you're rich, you can translate that into an access. And not having a breaker is a big problem, obviously. And this one being a cloud is basically all you need. Worst case scenario is you're hitting central, so you're not going to be paying $1 jillion for a Turing.
Sure. And then we have 2 Crescentius, which is another Geist hallmark, because you can trash it to derez a piece of ice.
Yeah, sometimes you're getting the double trigger off the tech traders by just like, I guess I'll derez this Ichi for $5 and then I'll get my money and draw on stuff. Because inevitably, with how much this deck tends to camp, the corp will get ahead on money and then be able to res a fat piece of ice in your face, which you don't want to have to deal with multiple times. This lets you deal with it one time and be done.
Yeah. So this is the deck. It's pretty solid. I think it's a good starting point, especially for a modern Geist. Let's take it for a spin on competitive Jinteki. Are you ready to step into the pilot seat?
Yes, I'm stoked.
All right. So everyone, catch me and Zero on the test run, and until we see you all again, always be right.